When my mother remarried, I thought life would finally feel normal again. She had spent years alone, and I wanted her to smile the way she used to. Her new husband was kind, patient, and had a son from his previous marriage. That's how I met him, my stepbrother. At first, everything felt formal between us. He was polite, distant, and always seemed lost in his own thoughts. We shared the same house, the same dining table, yet never really shared much else. But slowly, without either of us realizing, something began to change. We'd pass each other in the hallway and exchange quiet smiles. When our parents went out, we'd end up watching the same shows or helping each other with small things around the house. There was a sense of comfort between us, like we both understood the awkwardness of suddenly being family without ever choosing it. He wasn't the kind of person who spoke much. But when he did, his words carried warmth, steady, calm, reassuring. I began to notice the little things. The way he listened when I spoke, how he never interrupted, how he remembered small details I mentioned. Sometimes, when we were both sitting on the couch, I'd catch him looking at me, not in a way that felt wrong, but in a way that made me wonder what he was thinking. I'd tell myself it was nothing, that I was imagining things. Our parents often traveled for work, leaving the house quiet and empty. The silence had a strange kind of power. It made every word sound louder, every glance feel heavier. I started looking forward to those quiet evenings, even though I told myself I shouldn't. I didn't know it then, but our story was already beginning. Not in the loud moments of life, but in the quiet ones where neither of us spoke the truth out loud. And maybe that was the problem. Sometimes, silence doesn't hide feelings. It exposes them. That day started like any other. My mother and his father were heading out of town for a wedding. My little sister was staying at a friend's house. Everyone was leaving, except the two of us. I told my mom I wasn't feeling well, and he said he had a project to finish. I didn't realize until the car disappeared down the street that we were completely alone. The house suddenly felt different, larger, quieter, almost breathing on its own. The ticking clock echoed in the background. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator. It was just us. He came downstairs wearing a gray hoodie, holding a cup of coffee. "You didn't go?" he asked. I shook my head. "Didn't feel like it. Guess it's just us then," he said, smiling softly. We cooked lunch together. Something simple, but it felt like we were doing something secret. Every movement felt deliberate. He handed me a plate, and our fingers brushed. It was nothing, yet it wasn't. We spent the afternoon watching a movie, sitting at opposite ends of the couch. By halfway through, the distance between us seemed smaller. Every time I laughed, he looked at me instead of the screen. The sky outside turned gray. Rain began to tap gently against the windows. The house grew dim. He turned to me and said, almost whispering, "Do you ever feel like this house keeps secrets?" I didn't know what to say. My heart was pounding too loudly. "I think," I replied softly, "some secrets keep us." For a moment, no one spoke. The air between us felt heavy, filled with everything we weren't allowed to say. Then the doorbell rang. Just a delivery. But by the time he returned, something had already shifted. We both knew it, even if we didn't say a word. When everyone left that morning, I thought the silence would be peaceful. Instead, it became something else. A mirror showing everything we'd been hiding inside. Evening came quietly, like the world outside didn't exist. The rain kept falling, and the lights flickered gently across the living room. We were still sitting there, close enough to feel each other's presence. He broke the silence first. "You ever wonder if life just puts people in the wrong places?" I looked at him, unsure how to answer. Maybe it does. Or maybe we just don't know what to do with the right ones. We both smiled faintly, but our eyes didn't move away. It was one of those moments where everything feels still, when you know something is about to happen, and you can't stop it even if you want to. He told me he used to feel like an outsider before his father remarried. I told him I felt the same. Somehow, in that shared loneliness, we found connection. The kind that wasn't supposed to exist. His words became softer, his voice almost a whisper. I never meant to make things complicated, he said. You didn't, I replied. Life did. There was no clear beginning to what followed. No sudden move, no decision. Just a slow realization that the line between right and wrong had blurred quietly while we weren't looking. For a few moments, time stopped. It wasn't about desire. It was about the need to be understood, to feel something real, even if it came from a place that wasn't meant to exist. When I looked at him again, I saw the same confusion reflected in his eyes, the same guilt already waiting in the morning. We didn't speak after that. We didn't have to. Silence said everything. And though nothing was ever fully said or done, that moment lingered like an echo, soft, warm, and painfully unforgettable. Sometimes, the heart crosses lines the mind spends a lifetime erasing. The next morning, everything felt different. The sunlight spilling into the kitchen looked colder somehow. He was already up, making coffee, quiet as ever. We said good morning like nothing had happened, but the silence between us carried too much meaning. Every word felt careful, rehearsed, polite. When our parents returned that evening, the house filled again with laughter, footsteps, and voices. But to me, it no longer felt like home. It felt like a memory of something I couldn't return to. He avoided my eyes for days. When we finally did speak, it was short, simple, but honest. We can't, he said softly. I know, I replied. And that was it. Life went on. We both pretended. The moments faded into something that felt like a dream, too vivid to forget, too heavy to remember. Sometimes I'd catch a glimpse of him passing through the hallway, and for a split second, everything came rushing back. The rain, the silence, the warmth, the mistake. He started spending more time outside, and I buried myself in school and work. We became strangers living under the same roof again. But at night, when I heard his door close, part of me still remembered the day everyone left, and how the world outside didn't matter for a few quiet hours. It's been years now. We don't talk about it. We don't need to. Some stories aren't meant to be told out loud. They live in silence, between glances, between breaths, between people who once forgot what distance meant. And though I've moved on, every time it rains, I remember that day, the day the house kept our secret. Not out of desire, not out of regret, but because it taught me something no one ever says out loud. Some lines, once crossed, never truly disappear. They just live quietly, inside you.